Hey everybody, I'm Greg Soul, and this is Why Am I, a podcast where I talk to interesting people and try and trace a path to where they find themselves today. My guest this go-around is David Van Ness. This dude marries his lifelong love of movies, years of playing pinball, and his decades of video work into producing the most immersive pinball experiences you've ever seen. They produce limited runs of pinball machines for collectors and true players alike. One thing you'll find in these stories is his absolute passion for not only what they do making machines, but also about how it truly brings joy to people and creates communities. I hope you enjoy this chat with David. David, thank you for joining me on the Why Am I podcast today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad we got to make this work out, man. So I think I found you from like an Adam Savage tested video. That guy, he has his finger in all kinds of interesting things, and I don't know. Like sometimes there'll just be some individual in there that catches me. And you were very interesting. You were very interesting. Something very specific that got me was you were talking about, and I think I sent this in the intro email to you. Is you were talking about the Dune franchise and your pinball machine and how it can make you feel connected to the world, like part of it. And I had never even thought of that as a potential possibility in the world, that a pinball machine could make you feel part of like your favorite franchise. And I just like, man, this guy's on a different level. I need to talk to him. So,
so just, having, an emotional connection to things that you experience. And as a young individual myself, watching films for the first time, it takes you to the realms of the impossible, right? I like when you realize, like when you're growing up, you've got an imagination and that. But when I first discovered films, there were things that I could never imagine, and that captured my imagination. My first real movie experience was Clash of the Titans in the movie theater, and like I never imagined that world visually. Like, you always were told, you read books, or books were read to you as a young child, you have your imagination. But this was the first time that it was beyond my imagination, and it was real. Then to me, it was real. So that led me down the path of how do the people make this stuff? Like, because like if I can see it's tangible, it's not my imagination, then someone made it. Now, I wouldn't say as a kid I knew what making was, but that was real to me. So for my whole life from that point onwards was, how can I make, because I had an emotional reaction to it, it led me down to the path of how can I have people have the same experience I got from that. And another core experience. So from there on, I always was like storytelling, like, playing with my friends and doing the things that kids do. And then there was that moment, so we're doing all these stories, watching Return of the Jedi in the movies, Ghostbusters, whatever. And then I discovered a pinball machine. I wasn't interested in pinball machines at all. And I was actually looking for an arcade game because that's what I was into. And there was this Dead East Star Wars sitting in the back. And I love Star Wars, so I naturally just want to walk over and see it because it said Star Wars on it. And, the Star Wars mean a lot to me and my generation, many people. I started playing the pinball machine because the guy said, go ahead and play it. And if anyone knows what the Dado Star Wars pinball machine is, there's a Death Star in the top right-hand corner. And I'm just shooting the ball around. I didn't know how pinball works. Like, it's pretty rudimental. You got two flippers and you hit a ball. So I'm doing all that. Little R2-D2's popping in the corner. And then on ball 3, the Death Star target came down. And now I'm starting to feel the movie calls. Like, you're hearing the music, you're feeling the tension. And honestly, this was probably bigger in my head than it was at the moment. But I'm getting that connection to the movie that I dearly love. And when I hit that ball into that Death Star, I was Luke Skywalker. I didn't care if it was a pinball machine, but it immediately connected to my thoughts and memories and my imagination. It was a physical connection to my memory, my core memory of what made that film special to me. I've always been chasing that. Like, wow, I just experienced a movie moment, but it wasn't me watching the movie. I physically made that happen. It wasn't a passive experience. It was an active experience. And I had to have that pinball machine. Now, I actually did end up buying that pinball machine. My dad was, always trying to encourage the entrepreneur spirit of, okay, well, you want to put this in a pizza shop or a fish and chip shop or a chicken shop? Let's do that, and we'll split the profits or whatever. Not wasn't routing games is not a profitable company, but it was a really fun thing for me to do with my dad. So then from that onwards, I would be routing pinball machines, but I would buy in pinball machines not because I wanted them to be profitable on the street. I was buying machines that I wanted to connect to personally. So I bought like Doctor Who, Twilight Zone, Phantom of the Opera, all themes that I love passionately, Tales from the Crypt, like things that I wanted, like these were movies I watched, but in pinball form that I got to now to connect. So there was this physical connection I was getting to the IPs that I love through pinball machines. And through having pinball machines, I learned to fix them, and not the best way, like garage in the worst way, but you had to keep them maintained because they're on location getting played all the time. So when you talk about the physical connection, and that's what you started off, and I apologize, I will take a short answer and make it really long, is I've always pursued a connection to other people, because when I performed that magic trick of putting the ball into the Death Star or Twilight Zone and doing the shot up to the pyramid mini playfield, is I wanted to share that experience with my friends. Just like when you'd watch a movie, you've got to go and see this film. I would bring friends to pinball machine and say, you've got to see this trick. Theater of Magic is another good example. Again, if you're not a pinball person, it makes no sense. But in Theater of Magic, there's a trunk that rotates around as you hit it, and it does magic tricks. So it will catch the ball, fling it up onto it, and spin it around and make the ball disappear. So again, because I like magic and the imagination, I was performing these tricks for my friends, and I wanted my friends to learn the tricks. So it was just that we kept connecting on an emotional and physical level of these tricks that we were doing and connecting to the IPs. And then eventually I had to grow up, and I didn't really grow up. I went to film school, and I went to film school, did that. I've worked in film and TV for 25 years. But again, I was telling stories on how to, I want to tell stories that emotionally connect to people. It didn't matter if it was a documentary or a commercial or a infomercial. It's like, how can I get people to connect to something? And that's what I did. So from doing that, and because I love pinball, I eventually saw pinball was coming back, and I was in a position in my life that I could start buying pinball machines again. I want to recapture my youth, right? Talk about midlife crisis. That I wanted to buy games that I had when I was a teenager and have them in my life so I can share it with my family. Which then that led to me hearing about Jersey Jack is going to come out with Wizard of Oz with an LCD display. Well, and I work in film and TV post-production. The light bulb in my head goes, well, I know how to do this stuff. Maybe I can offer my services to help create content for it. So I just volunteered myself as a consultant to anyone that worked in pinball. And that's basically how I got into actually the industry side of pinball machines, which was creating content for LCD displays, and how do we connect people to the game, not just physically, but also on the display front. So, and then from that point, it's always been how can we make sure the player is experiencing the game, not just physically, but also emotionally.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, I love it. I love it. Yeah, there's so many interesting things there. So you said you had an emotional reaction to this thing. A couple of questions pop up. One, what was the emotion? Was it excitement or just
it was
pure
excitement.
immersion?
I mean, I probably can't curse, but it was holy, I am Luke Skywalker. I just destroyed the Death Star, and I want to do that over and over and over again. And that's kind of the thing about pinball. When you learn to do combination shots, so pinball is very much shoot, reaction. But when you get better at it, you'll be able to start making combination shots. So you can go left flipper to the right ramp, that will feed back to your right flipper, then hit the left ramp. And if you string those all together, they're called combo shots. So it's you are performing skill level shots, that I'm not a very athletic person. I'm the first one to acknowledge that. But pinball allows you to get really good at something without having to train years and years for it, you know. And trust me, I'm not a good pinball player, but it's one of those things of you really connect with the game on a very different level as you would for a video game and stuff. Where video games, it's very much you can get combinations down and sequences down, but on a pinball machine, one ball can be radically different from the next ball because it's interacting with parts on the machine that could radically be different due to how old it is, how many times it's played. Like you could play against some of the best people in the world, and I have beaten some of the best people in the world, not because I actually was good. They had a bad ball, and I had a fantastic ball, you know? So pinball is one of those games that is a great equalizer. Trust me, they crush me all the time, but you just need one good game to brag on them that I beat you. But that's what we, come over. But that's the emotional connection, is able to do things that you don't think were possible.
That's interesting. So when you're playing, do you get into kind of like a flow state? Like you kind of get in the zone sort of thing?
You're playing for dear life. Like literally you're just trying to keep... literally. So what will happen is typically when someone would start playing, they'll hit both flippers at the same time. Both buttons and cause the flippers to flip at the same time. That is actually really dangerous because the gap between the flippers down low is narrow, but when you have them up, it's actually wider. So the first thing, if you're learning to play pinball, you don't want to do the double flip. You always want one down or up. As soon as you do that, you actually reduce the opportunity for the ball to drain down into the flipper. So that's just, general rule. Don't double flip because you'll actually lose control of the ball quicker that way. So,
and I'm assuming it sounds like you've been in the game for quite a long time, so you've probably played most of the IPs that you are really connected to at this point. But I was just curious, do you still get that feeling every now and then, like that immersion feeling, or is it, have you just, because I've had hobbies before that I've turned into jobs, and it's like it kind of quits being the hobby sort of thing.
You have no idea how excited I am when a new pinball comes out from no matter who it is. And when I entered into the market as a pinball manufacturer, I didn't start out to be a pinball manufacturer. I was presented some opportunities. COVID kind of changed pretty much changed how everyone saw the world. It was one of those things of I stepped back from everything I was doing post work and pinball work, that for me to kind of just rethink what I want to do with my life, because we didn't know what was going to happen. And it was one of these opportunities that, when we analyzed what is the market missing, because my partner was basically, why didn't you do this? Because I was still getting called for licenses saying we want to make a pinball machine, and I said I'm not in it anymore, but I will pass it off to friends at other pinball companies, because I still wanted to see pinballs exist. Even though I wasn't working for a company or companies anymore, I'm not the one that's like, well, if I'm not working, I don't want to see it exist. I was like, well, holy crap, I think X company would do an amazing job with this IP, so let me pass that on to them. And my friend, our partner, was like, why don't you do that yourself? Because it's stupid expensive and hard. But so while he kept badgering me about that, it was like, all right, well, let's sit down and think about, we're going to do a business plan. What's missing from the industry? What do we as a collector, because at the end of the day, I'm a collector, not a manufacturer. I collect this stuff. I love it. What's missing? And what we saw in the industry is, first of all, everyone kind of knows what everyone's doing. There's no secrecy anymore. Back in the day, you didn't know what pinball machine was coming out until it came out that day. And it was always like Christmas, oh, holy crap, did you just see Tron came out? We're going to go down to, at the time it was Joysticks here in Houston, we're going to down to they're going to have a unboxing, we're going to go and play it for the first time, we'll debate it, we'll get on the internet forums and say what we like about it, we don't like about it. It was like Christmas Day every 90 days that a new pinball machine would come out from Stern. That kind of has gone away because there's so many leaks now that you kind of know what's going to be coming down for the next 2 years. Well, at least a year. Now that I work in the industry, it's a little bit wider for me because people talk. So we felt like there's no excitement around a launch day. There is excitement, but there's not what it used to be like back in the day. So secrecy, if we could release games that no one knows about, doesn't matter what IP it is, there's something special about launching a game that no one expects exists. Okay, that's one. B, we felt like the market was being saturated with multiple versions of the one game. Me as a collector, I mean, gosh, I've got a replica. Actually, this is pulled from the model of the real mold from Tales from the Crypt. Like, I'm a collector. Cool. I buy stupid stuff. When I want to buy something that's collectible or something that I want a version of it, I don't want to choose through 3 different or 4 different versions of that. I want the best version of that. Because if I feel like I have to buy the lower trim version of it, I don't feel like I'm getting what I really want. Like, if I want something, I want the best version of it. So we recognized that there was an opportunity. Well, can we not provide one SKU of this IP that has everything in it for a very good value? Like, we don't want to gouge people. We've got to obviously make a profit so I can maintain the facility. But how can we, so we recognize that there is an opportunity to make games that people don't know about, so they have the Christmas surprise element to every launch that we do. We see as a collector that most collectors don't want multiple versions. They want one version to rule them all. Personally, again, that's what me and my partner, and when I talk to friends, that they want one version that is a good value. And B, find licenses and IPs, even original IPs, that can speak to people on a different level. So I want to introduce people to pinball that may not want to play pinball, but if I can grab an IP, I'm trying to see if I got something that we're not working on. If I can get an IP that can bring someone into pinball, I've now grown my market, because if I only made pinball just for the pinball demographic, we're dead in 15 years because it doesn't grow. It's a very small community. So my goal is to find IPs that want to create worlds under glass to bring people into pinball, and I'm trying to bring IPs into pinball that maybe the pinball person may not think that will be a good good theme, but if it's a good playing game, they're going to play it, and now I'm going to introduce them to a whole new license, a new theme that they never thought. And Labyrinth is a really good example of that. Labyrinth was not a game anyone was asking for. Even Henson, to a little bit, did not really think Labyrinth would make a good pinball machine, because I have other IPs. Because when I was talking to him, like, what can we do? I gravitated towards Labyrinth, A, because I loved that movie as a child, but B, I was always frustrated by Sarah's character because she would make decisions that would be the opposite that I would do. Like, if you're falling down a hole and you have a choice to go up or down, you go up, but she chooses down. So from that little seed, I was like, well, what if we actually made a pinball machine? Because a pinball machine is kind of like a Labyrinth, where you choose where you shoot. Well, what if we gave the player the power to choose what they wanted to do in this world? So I felt there was a great opportunity to connect that world in a pinball form. So I'd put a pitch together to Henson, showed them it, and they were like blown away by it. Because, like, oh wow, you're not just taking a pinball machine, just slapping stuff on it. You're thinking about it as the world, and how does the player interact with it. And again, this was not a theme, and even to this day, you can go on internet forums, like, people don't ask for Labyrinth, but when they play for the first time, they get it. And they're like, oh, now this makes more sense. And one good thing that we noticed that did happen is Labyrinth was a very female-heavy demo versus Pinball is a very male-heavy demo, is the wives for the first time were now going to these pinball shows, seeing Labyrinth, and go, oh, I want to play Labyrinth. And the husband's kind of like, you're taking an interest in my hobby now? You know? Interested in playing Labyrinth or David Bowie, but when they played it and they saw that the playing experience was actually rather good, all of a sudden now the husband and the wife, or the child and the parent, have connected over this game. They're now experiencing, they're getting to experience what the husband loves, or the pinball person that loves is pinball, but now the pinball player gets to experience a IP or a movie or a thing or a TV show or a band are connecting over one single thing, which is pinball, which is what we make.
Yeah,
It's
I love that.
I'm probably making it bigger than it is, but honestly, that's what we drive to do here is have people connect to each other through this one device.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, it's your passion. It comes through. You obviously light up. You come to life when you're talking about this stuff. And I haven't seen one of the Labyrinth machines in person, but I have like seen it on the internet and stuff like that. And it's a beautiful playfield. Like it is a well put together machine. And then just the attention to detail is obviously there. And I really like the addition of the LCD screen like down low on the playfield because I mean, as I'm sure a lot of people who are going to listen to this have played pinball machines. A lot of times the LCD's up high and it draws your eye away from the game while you're trying to play. Whereas it feels so much more integrated into the experience and just like all the little details, like the handle pull being like one of the little creatures, and then the additional trolls you can get up on top that kind of move. It's just, you could tell that it's definitely a love letter to the IP itself. So it's not shoehorned.
It's a good, it's a good partnership, right? Like again, we have turned down licenses that we don't think will make a good experience. I mean, it's one of those situations where can we make a great story and make sure that it's sustainable. But again, half of our brainstorming situations, what we do when we go into a game, it's not a pinball machine itself. It's like, I'll challenge you. Okay, let's talk about a license. Let's do Top Gun. Okay? Nate, like without watching the movie and thinking, give me your top 5 things that you think of Top Gun.
There's got to be jets, obviously. Probably aircraft carrier, or maybe the flyby on the tower. You're probably going to have to integrate that somehow. I don't know how you could work in the volleyball scene, but that's what everybody thinks of. And then maybe the motorcycle on the runway. I think those are kind of the big ones.
Yeah. So you're naming like 4 things right there that I guarantee you will resonate with other Top Gun people. So a part of our process here before we even start a pinball machine is we have everyone privately write down those things, and then we pull that together. And if we find 5 of those things that are the same everywhere, we assume that this is what the fan of that IP is going to be going towards. And that's essentially the seed of how we start all our development. It's like, what is the connection? Because if we can make you connect on any of those 5 things, we've done our job, because it's going to make you want to play that game over and over and experience it again. That is it in a nutshell. Like we don't design the playfield until we have sat down and figured out what are people going to connect to. And like with Labyrinth, you got to be able to connect to the goblins. You got to connect to the different characters. You've got to befriend them. Of course you have to battle, Jareth at the end. So basically we had to come up with what are the things that Sarah interacted throughout that world, and how do we have the player connect to that. And like with Dune, for example, is you're not Paul, you're not any of these people, you are a Fremen fighting alongside Paul. So during the day, that's why we have day and night cycles, not because we thought it was a clever mechanic, but we wanted you during the day, you would be hunting harvesters, you will be looking for water and spice, and at night time, when you go into night, you go into the prophecy modes where you'll witness Paul become who he needs to be. So you get to do the modes of learning to training with Gurney, riding, learning to ride, and doing survival. It's one of those things of you're participating alongside his journey to become who he needs to be. And that was the whole approach towards it. Obviously, we have very good game writers and people that are huge fans of these IPs. But again, what are the core things when you watch the Dune series, or even have read the books or the old movie? What are the core things? Painbox, riding the worm, and obviously fighting and fade at the end. So these are core moments that the fans want to experience, and how can we do that in the most cinematic pinball way possible? Which, I experienced the Whitewood for the first time with Ride, the prophecy mode Ride, where you've got to set the thumper into the sand in the sand dune, but you can't just set it anywhere. You have to set it where it resonates more to bring Ashihad. So it's like on the playfield, you start the mode, you go to the top of the mountain, so you shoot that shot, and you see a picture of him. He's thumping the ground. It doesn't resonate. The ball comes back, and then you got to shoot up the middle of the playfield. He comes down the mountain a little bit, hits it, not resonating. Now the shot moves over to the scoop. You shoot the scoop. It goes into the scoop. You know, it's right there. He sets it. Now you got to hit the pop bumper on the playfield to cause it to start calling the worm. So once you've done that, you got to, now the worm is coming for you. So the next stage, that's stage 1 of that mode. Stage 2 of that mode, if you choose to continue, now you've got to ride the worm. So now you've got to get your hooks. You got a left hook, right hook, and then you go put the ball onto the worm, and then it rises up, and it becomes that moment of like, holy crap, I just rode the worm, and it's all building up to that one moment that you want to do it again and again and again. I'm sorry, I just get really passionate about what we do, but like creating these moments that you can share with your friends and family means so much to us. Like that's what we drive for every time when we develop something.
Yeah, and I think unique experiences as well. Like I think I saw where there's like a center button, and you have to hold that button, and you can't let it go, right? And you've got to be like alternating left and right with your offhand, whatever it happens to be. I've never seen anything like that, but it definitely connects you into that moment, and I could see that as like, I've got to get to this moment. I've got to get back here.
Well, and it's one of those things that like flipper tricks is not uncommon in pinball. We've had like drunk mode where the flippers will flip-flop in different games. So your left flipper will control the right flipper and so forth. So you'll find people playing like this. So they psychologically they're doing the right thing. So it's not unusual to do, little gimmicks like that. But when you have a movie where literally you have to put your hand in a box, and if you pull it out, you die, we have to find a way mechanically to represent that. So having an action button on the lockdown bar made complete sense to force that player to put their hand out, and now you've got to make a single shot, because basically what has happened in the game, the ball has drained out, so you're dead anyway. However, the paint box shoots out of the apron, and now you have an opportunity to do exactly what Paul did, was stand the trial of the paint box, and if you make that one shot up the left ramp, you're back into play and you're off, you're saved. So again, it was one of those moments where it's like, how can we connect the player to that moment? And we've had people that absolutely hate that mode because they just drain out and they're not that good at it. But then you may lose it 2-3 times in a row, but then all of a sudden you'll get one ball where that ball comes around, you hit that flipper and it goes directly to the correct shot, and it's saved, and it becomes the best mode you've ever played. So that's just the emotional level of how it jerks with you is, honestly, to me, that's going back to my childhood. Like, how can I make you emotionally connected to this game?
Well, I think about that, and I think that's a fantastic idea. Like, I love the idea of that. And so, like, hey, we're brainstorming, we come up with this idea. That seems like it's not exactly the most easy thing to, like, actually integrate into the system. So I'm curious, are there crazy ideas you've come up with that you just could not figure out a way to make it work? Or do you always sort of seem to find a way?
We always seem to find a way. I mean, there are things, even if there's something that we don't think we can make it into a game, we here always come up with ideas that we will stick on a wall or in somewhere and let people know about it, because we don't know if that will pop up in another game down the road. Like, it may not exist, or we don't have it ready, or it doesn't seem to work right with the current game that we're working on. That doesn't mean it's not going to be good for another game down the road. Like movie making, every story has pretty much been told. The question is how we framing it. So again, like if we come up with an idea for a pinball machine, and it may not be it could be a just simple mech idea. It may not work for what we're currently working on, or it may work for a game previously we just made, but man, wish we could have done that. Well, guess what? We are working on 3 other games in cycle right now. Maybe it can work for that. Like, how can this mechanism or idea seed what the future game or future games can be?
That's so cool. So whenever you get you get an idea, you get an IP, you're going to move forward with it. Like from inception to delivery, like how long does that process usually take for you?
So once you sign, so most agreements are about 3 years when you actually sign a license. We tend to, when we sign a license, we've already fleshed out a concept and a document, because a lot of people can say, we want to make a pinball machine, give us an agreement. You can do that. However, when I go to a licensor, I want them to understand what we want to put into this game. So we tend to over pitch ourselves, because if we're doing it, we've already sat there and done doodles. So it's like, well, we're just going to show you what we're thinking. And that usually, honestly, that's what gets us the licenses we want, because we've already done what probably most people haven't done until they have the agreement placed. I was just wondering if I actually had a couple of concepts lying around, because I'm a horrible drawer. Don't get me wrong. I do stick figures and stuff like that. I don't see one here, but it's just like, never let things get in the way of you being creative. Write it down, put a note somewhere. This is something I learned from doing scripts and stuff. You never know where that seed idea is going to go. Not just in a screenplay, but in work and in life. Like, these little things will help you connect to something larger down the road. I wish I had my concepts for Labyrinth sitting around here, because they're kind of crazy. But again, when you come up with crazy stuff, the reality is it can't all go into the game, or it just physically can't exist. So then that starts changing. I can share some photos with you of the concepts of Labyrinth, of where it went. Is like, okay, well, physically the ball can't do that. So, but how can we get the same emotion that we're trying to get from this image into a physical state?
So do you feel like, so yeah, Labyrinth was number 1, Dune was number 2. Do you feel like you learned a whole lot of lessons in Labyrinth and it was just easier or faster, or you're getting a little bit smoother as you kind of progress through machines, or does it feel like or just you're having to start at ground zero every single time?
You always, so like even every film or TV show I started on, every time I would sit into the edit chair, and we're starting a project, I would be like, imposter syndrome. How did I do this? And like my wife, I've been doing this for 15, 20 years, David, just do it. Like, just do it. But every film and TV, even though there's structure, there's software, how you do it, there is a kind of a magic of whatever clips that you get is how you arrange them to make them work, right? And you could have 3 different editors that will come out with 3 different, completely different edits because of just how they do things, okay? So with Labyrinth, what we learned Dune is a real hybrid of what Labyrinth is. Labyrinth is probably one of the hardest games to shoot, and that comes down to is we shoehorned everything we wanted into that game. Second of all, the people I had playing this game behind the scenes were probably some of the best players in the world. And I would tweak that game to how I see them playing it. The reality is, when we put it out onto location or kids starting to play in it, they're literally getting kicked in the shins because it's brutal. Like, it's tough. So that game was set up in a way to be for a real tournament, a real hardcore pinball player. When I saw average people, because my approach is a 12-year-old should be able to walk up to one of our games and have an amazing experience. Labyrinth does do that because we do a lot of little things with Fireys jumping out and the Goblin King multi-ball, the Brickmaker multi-ball is, even if you do bad, you still get to experience those moments. And if you're a fan of the IP, you're going to want to see those again. For a pinball player, when they see the ball drain all the time because it really is brutal, it's a bit of a letdown because they want to learn the shots, but that makes them want to try again because a lot of people play pinball reactionary, so when the ball comes bang, they're just flipping, right? A good pinball player will trap the ball up on the flipper, make the shot. Like, you never want the ball constantly moving. You'll see a very good pinball player will always try and settle the ball down on the flipper and then make the shot. So when I saw that happen with Labyrinth, when we approached Dune, so example, Labyrinth has to be set at a particular 7.5 degree height to make it play really, really good, like smooth and everything else. But what we learned is we had so many new people buying this game, they had no idea how to set up a pinball machine. Like, if you're a pinball collector, you want to set your pinballs at 6.5, 7 degrees, because that's just what you do, because their legs are adjustable. Well, 20% of our buyers of Labyrinth have never had a pinball machine in their life. So we spent a lot. I mean, there was literally phone calls. They thought the game came on legs, and it's like they didn't realize they had to put it on legs. So for all these little things, my mandate for like Dune was, all right, this game out of the box, if you just put the legs on it, it's gotta play perfect, because there's gonna be people getting this game that have no idea what they're doing. So we have to make the entry level for them to have a great experience easier. Also, there were so many shots on Labyrinth, I wanted to make sure Dune was way more accessible. So when you're making a shot, it actually is not hitting targets, but it's hitting the ramps and the orbits and so forth. So things were happening. So all those things that, we learned from Labyrinth now transitioned into, I wanted the experience for Dune. And then the other side of it, Labyrinth was designed from just the concept on what we wanted in it. Now that I've been through 18 months with Labyrinth on the line, a lot of engineering challenges that we were experiencing and designing for, I was like, well, think about the people making it on the line. Because if it takes an engineer 40 minutes to put this mech together, how do we expect our people on the line to put it together? So we need to simplify. Like, how do we make the experience of putting this game better for our people on the line, which then also translates to, if something happens out in the wild with our game, which it will happen because it's a physical product, how can they repair it? How can they fix it in a more timely manner instead of having to understand how, engineering works? So, it was a huge learning curve of, you got to remember, we were 3 people in my dining room making Labyrinth to move into a 19,000 square foot facility, buying all the parts with our own money, not asking for pre-orders. Like, we paid for all the parts up front, to growing the company to 30 people, managing 30 people, as well as developing a product and then expanding another 13,000 square feet behind us, just to fulfill our promise to make sure we get games to people in a timely manner. I mean, we delivered over 850 games within 12 months of us becoming a company, which is a big milestone. But I felt like I still let people down because we didn't get it in a more timely fashion. And that's why we expanded as quickly as we did, because I don't want people waiting for their games. That's really what it comes down to. But yeah, so learning from Labyrinth and then expanding the facility, managing all these people, was a huge learning curve that I should have probably known better, but I didn't realize how much HR work and the day-to-day running of the business that you've got to deal with on the line, as well as developing the product. Because before we even did this, we were just developing. And that's kind of zen, right? Like, you just do this, do that, let's put it together. That's not a problem. But then you put on running the facility. You've got 2 lines. You got a cabinet line, you got a playfield line, you got packaging, QC, inventory, sub-assembly. You got all that stuff going on, not including all of the other external things that are coming at you on a daily basis. So I know you talked about what was the difference, but that was what we learned from Labyrinth going into Dune, and then Dune will greatly affect what will happen in game 3 and 4 moving forward.
Gotcha. So the Labyrinth, you only produced, or you were capping at 1,100 machines, right? And so you said 20% of people have you never really played pinball. It sounds like you're really targeting collectors. Like, was that an unexpected thing? There's just pure collectors?
I'm a collector. Like, I really shouldn't be manufacturing. I want to make stuff with cool people. At the end of the day, I feel like if I can encourage and nurture the most amazing people I've had in my life to make amazing products, the money should follow. And we won't have to wait. There's stress to this job for everyone, but if we're doing it together and having fun, you can give me all the stress you can, because I'm having the time of my life here. So no, we want to do more than just pinball. We want to make other collectible parts, but our passion is in pinball. You got to remember, my background, film and TV and pinball, but my partner, has over 25 years of running the G.I. Joe and Transformers Collectors Club for 25 years. So that means he would have international conventions for Transformers and G.I. Joe. It means he made toy lines for G.I. Joe and Transformers. So, he understands the collector market, more than probably anyone, because he would make collectibles for those markets. But yeah, we truly love making cool shit for cool people. I mean, really what it comes down to, and that's what drives us every day.
I dig it. I was just curious, like that makeup of like 20% of people never really played pinball. They just absolutely love this IP. And then here's this new like exclusive thing. Did you expect it to be like 20%?
We did not know. So typically if you can get 5% of people buying your product into this hobby is a huge deal. We did not, like, we've had multiple distributors tell us, it's like we've had more female buyers in our history of our selling pinball machines by Labyrinth. Like, we've never seen them again. Like, we've never seen that before. Like, Labyrinth really did something unique, but that's exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to connect people. Like, if you love this, like, what is the ultimate collectible you can have? Literally a 7-foot pinball machine. It's literally a giant trophy of your favorite IP. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, and it's such a beautiful machine, and then like all the music, you have the soundtrack in there. It is like such a cool experience. Like I haven't got to play it, but I'm sitting here watching like gameplay of it, and it seems so fun. I'm actually in College Station, so I'm like an hour and a half from you.
Why didn't you come down here for it? We could have done this interview here.
I've never played pinball in Houston, but I go to Pinballs in Austin probably once every month and a half, every 2 months, and get down there and play some stuff.
There's a pinball collective in Austin now that just started up, where a group of pinball people have put together their games in one location to have tournaments and have people over play. So I'm hoping by the end of this month I'm going to take a Dune up there, because I've got 2 Labyrinths actually. So I'm going to go up there one weekend, and we're going to do like a barrel ball and Labyrinth and have Dune there for people to play, because there's not a lot of Dunes out in the wild. We're making them right now. So I'll make sure that you should come down and play that. Hey, first of all, come to the factory so you can see how it's made. But to experience it in a collectible, with fellow fans, that's a whole new level. So let's make sure that happens.
All right, man. I will definitely take you up on that. I love industrial automation. I love having kind of computers control the real world. Like I've got to tour like coal-fired power plant, and like I don't know, like that kind of stuff is just fascinating to me, and I love microcontrollers and doing all kinds of stuff like that. So it's absolutely it's one of those things that lights up my brain for sure. Well, I tell you what, David, I could literally sit here and have you tell me stories.
I'm sorry.
Probably no, you're a fascinating guy, and I love the passion you have for this, and there's so much unexpected, but you've opened my eyes to a whole world of pinball where this game kind of transcends being a game, and now it becomes a conduit through which you can experience these worlds that you absolutely love. And I've never seen it in that light until now. And I don't know that I'm ever going to not be able to see it that way from now on. It's like it's so cool. And just the fact that people can find so much passion for their favorite things, which makes sense.
It's the most useless thing in the world.
No, you say useless. I think deriving happiness, pure joy from things, there's nothing useless about that, because oftentimes there's a lot of things going on in the world that don't really spark joy or whatever. So if you can find these things like this, it's genuinely, it's worth driving a little ways for to experience something like that. But right here at the end, I want to give, I'm not just glazing you, I want everybody to have a chance to interact with you however you prefer. If you've got something new you'd love to promote and stuff like that, I'd love you to shout it out right now, man. How do you want the people to interact with you?
So what I want to see people do, and this is not for barrels of fun, what I want people to do is go out there and play pinball, not just by yourself, but take friends or get together and play pinball together. Because what makes pinball special is the ability to have a 4-player game or 2-player game where you can compete with someone, but you can actually enjoy if they make a shot. You can actually still enjoy it because they did something that maybe you couldn't have done on the first ball, and then have a conversation about that and why you liked it, why you didn't like it. That is what makes pinball different to every other community experience you have. And it doesn't matter if it's a Stern or a JJP game or our game. It's something that is very unique where you can go to a place and play different licensed games and have a common connection to your friends and family and meet new people. And that is what makes pinball special. And I just hope we can find our little corner where people get to experience new worlds and new experiences over our games. And the best way to see what games we are making is you can go to barrelsoffun.com or collectfun.com and see what games we're making right now. Labyrinth is wrapping it up. We were making up to 1,100 units. But due to our QC process, we're only going to make 1,004 of them, and we've got less than 70 games left out of that run, and we're never going to make it again because people said, well, you could just rerun it. I'm like, I'm over 40 years old. I only got so much window left in my life. There are way too many games I want to make before my time is up, and I would rather make the best games I possibly can until that happens instead of just running the same game over and over and over again. And so there's Labyrinth. Dune is the new one that we just released in April. That is up to 1,000 units. I don't think we'll make 1,000 units, just again regarding our QC process, and then we'll move on to the next one. If you want to check out videos, our good friend IE Pinball makes really good pinball streaming videos. Go and check that out at IE Pinball. His name's Carl. He's one of the best players in the world. And if you go to our YouTube channels, you'll see Bowen playing our games as well. So all I want people to do is go out and experience pinball with your friends and family. And once you do that, you may end up one in your house. And I will tell you, if you end up with one pinball machine in your house, get prepared for 2 or 3. Because once you have one, they just keep growing. Because
they're like rabbits, they just multiply, huh?
Dude, it is when you can have friends come over for a Friday night, you get a pizza, and you have your own little family tournament. It is a pretty awesome experience.
I used to have kind of like a MAME cabinet, but the idea of having that, but then if I do that, then I've got to get skee ball, and then I've got to get it sounds like this could be a problem.
It's a slippery road, dude. I'm telling you. But there's nothing like when you have a pinball machine in your house and someone walks in and they go, "You got a pinball machine in your house? I didn't know they made those." I spent the first year and a half of trying to get this company up and running, talking to vendors to make stuff for me because they didn't know pinball existed, and I would spend at least a month educating them. Like, yes, we still make them, and this is what I need you to do.
That's killer. All right, well, I'm gonna hit stop on all this stuff. David, thank you again, bud.
I appreciate it, sir.